If you're looking for help fixing your Ford automobile, look no further. Our comprehensive Ford automobile error code guide will explain common issues, provide tips, and show you how to read your model's error codes. Code P0171. Fuel trim Fort system 2 lean. Bank 1 intake. Exhaust leak. Air system. MAF/NAF sensor. Fuel pressure. Pump. Injector S. HO2S. Code P0300. Random cylinder misfire, cylinder not specified. Spark plug S. HT lead S. Injector S. Ignition coil S. Low compression. Wiring. Code P0301. Cylinder number 1 misfire. Engine mechanical fault. Wiring. Ignition. Fuel system. Injector. ECT. MAF sensor. ECM. Code P0340. Camshaft position sensor A. Circuit malfunction. Wiring. CMP sensor. ECM. Code P0420. Catalyst system efficiency below threshold, bank 1. Catalytic converter. Wiring. HO2S2. Code P0455. Evaporative emission, evap system large leak detected, hose connection S. Intake leak. Evap canister. Evap canister purge valve. Code P1000. On-board diagnostic system readiness test not complete. Code P1001. Key on. Engine running not able to complete. Code P1039. Vehicle speed signal missing or improper. Code P1051. Brake switch signal missing or improper. Code P1100. Mass airflow sensor intermittent. Wiring. MAF sensor. Code P1101. Mass airflow sensor out of self-test range. Wiring. Battery. MAF sensor. ECM. Code P1102. Mass airflow sensor in range but lower than expected. Wiring. MAF sensor. ECM. Code P1105. Dual alternator upper malfunction. Wiring. Alternator. ECM. Code P1106. Dual alternator lower malfunction. Wiring. Alternator. ECM. Code P1107. Dual alternator lower circuit malfunction. Wiring. Alternator. ECM.
Code P1108. Dual alternator battery lamp circuit malfunction. Wiring. Alternator upper. Alternator lower. ECM. Code P1109. IAT sensor 2 intermittent condition. Code P1111. CAT system fault. Code P1112. Intake air temperature sensor intermittent condition. Wiring. IAT sensor. ECM. Code P1114. Intake air temperature sensor 2 circuit low. Wiring short circuit to ground. IAT sensor. ECM. Code P1115. Intake air temperature sensor 2 circuit high. Wiring. IAT sensor. ECM. Code P1116. Engine coolant temperature sensor is out of self-test range. Wiring. Cooling system fault. ECT sensor. CHT sensor. ECM. Code P1117. Engine coolant temperature sensor intermittent wiring. Cooling system fault. ECT sensor. CHT sensor. ECM. Code P1118. Manifold absolute temperature circuit low input wiring. IAT sensor. ECM. Code P1119. Manifold absolute temperature circuit high input. Wiring. IAT sensor. ECM. Code P1120. Throttle position sensor out of range. Wiring. TP sensor. Code P1121. Throttle position sensor inconsistent with mass airflow sensor wiring. MAF sensor. TP sensor. Air leak. Code P1122. Throttle position sensor circuit intermittent low voltage. Code P1123. Throttle position sensor circuit intermittent high voltage. Code P1124. Throttle position sensor out of self-test range mechanical fault. TP sensor. ECM. Code P1125. Throttle position sensor intermittent. Wiring. TP sensor.
Code P1127. Exhaust not warm enough, downstream O2 sensor not tested, engine not running long enough prior to self-test. Code P1128. Front O2 sensor connectors swapped. Wiring. Connectors swapped. Code P1129. Downstream oxygen sensors swapped from bank to bank. Wiring. Connectors swapped. Code P1130. Lack of upstream heated oxygen sensor switch, adaptive fuel limit, bank 1 wiring. Intake. Fuel system. H02S. EGR system. Oil level. Camshaft timing. Cylinder compression. ECM. Code P1131. Lack of upstream heated oxygen sensor switch, sensor indicates lean, bank 1. Wiring. Intake. Fuel system. H02S. EGR system, oil level, camshaft timing, cylinder compression, ECM, code P1132. Lack of upstream heated oxygen sensor switch sensor indicates rich bank 1. Wiring, intake, fuel system, H02S, EGR system, oil level, camshaft timing, cylinder compression, ECM, code P1133. Bank 1 fuel control shifted lean, code P1135. Pedal position sensor a circuit intermittent, code P1136. Crankshaft position sensor and or camshaft position sensor input signal to PCM concerns, code P1137. Lack of O2 switches bank 1 sensor 2 lean. Wiring, exhaust system leaking, H02S, code P1138. Lack of HO2S switches bank 1 sensor 2 rich. Wiring, exhaust system leaking, H02S, code P1139. Water in fuel indicator circuit malfunction. Wiring, bulb open circuit, instrument panel, ECM, code P1140. Water in fuel condition wiring. Fuel filter, fuel, water separator sensor, ECM, code P1141. Fuel restriction indicator circuit malfunction, code P1142. Fuel restriction condition, code P1145. Calculated torque error, code P1148. Alternator 2 circuit malfunction. Wiring, alternator, ECM. Code P1149. Alternator 2 high input. Wiring, alternator, ECM. Code P1150. Lack of upstream heated oxygen sensor switch adaptive fuel limit bank 2 wiring. Intake, fuel system, H02S, EGR system, oil level, camshaft timing, cylinder compression, ECM, code P1151. Lack of upstream heated oxygen sensor switch sensor indicates lean bank 2. Wiring, intake, fuel system, H02S, EGR system, oil level, camshaft timing, cylinder compression, ECM, code P1152. Lack of upstream heated oxygen sensor switch sensor indicates rich bank 2. Wiring, intake, fuel system, H02S, EGR system, oil level, camshaft timing, cylinder compression, ECM, code P1153. Bank 2 fuel control shifted lean, code P1154. Bank 2 fuel control shifted rich, code P1155. Alternative fuel controller, code P1156. Fuel selector switch circuit. Wiring, fuel injector control module, ECM, code P1157. Lack of O2 switches bank 2 sensor 2 indicates lean. Wiring, exhaust system leaking, H02S, code P1158. Lack of O2 switches bank 2 sensor 2 indicates lean. Code P115E. Engine control module ECM data transmission fault. Throttle position TP. Wiring, ECM, code P1168. Fuel rail pressure sensor condition low pressure. Wiring, fuel level, low fuel pressure. Fuel rail pressure sensor, code P1169. Fuel rail sensor in range high failure. Wiring, high fuel pressure. Fuel rail pressure sensor, code P1170. Engine shutoff solenoid fault. Code P1171. Rotor sensor fault. Code P1172. Rotor control fault. Code P1173. Rotor calibration fault. Code P1174. Cam sensor fault. Code P1175. Cam control fault. Code P1176. Cam calibration fault. Code P1177. Synchronization fault. Code P1178. Engine control module ECM engine oil temperature. Engine overheated. Wiring, ECM, code P1180. Fuel delivery system malfunction low. Code P1181. Fuel delivery system malfunction high. Code P1183. Engine oil temperature sensor circuit malfunction. Code P1184. Engine oil temperature out of self-test range. Wiring, EOT sensor, ECM, code P1185. FTS high fuel pump temperature sensor high. Code P1186. Fuel pump temperature sensor low. Code P1187. Variant selection. Code P1188. Calibration memory fault. Code P1189. Pump speed signal fault. Code P1190. Calibration resistor out of range. Code P1191. Keyline voltage. Code P1192. Voltage external. Code P1193. EGR drive overcurrent. Code P1194. Engine control unit AD converter. Code P1195. SCP-HBCC failed to initialize. Code P1196. Key off voltage high. Code P1197. Key off voltage low. Code P1198. Pump rotor control under fueling. Code P1209. Injector control pressure system fault. Oil quality. Oil level. Oil pressure too high. Low. Low fuel pressure. Fuel pressure regulator control solenoid. Code P1210. Injector control pressure above expected level. Wiring. Fuel pressure sensor. ECM. Code P1211. Injector control pressure sensor above. Below desired. Oil quality. Oil level. Oil pressure too high. Low fuel pressure. Fuel pressure regulator control solenoid. Code P1212. Injector control pressure not detected during crank. Oil quality. Oil level. Oil pressure too high. Low fuel pressure. Fuel pressure sensor. Fuel pressure regulator. Code P1213. Start injector circuit malfunction. Code P1214. Pedal position sensor B circuit intermittent. Code P1215. Pedal position sensor C circuit low input. Code P1216. Pedal position sensor C circuit high input. Code P1217. Pedal position sensor C circuit intermittent. Code P1218. SID high. Injector control module. ECM. Code P1219. SID stuck low. Injector control module. ECM. Code P1220. Series throttle control fault detected. Code P1221. Traction control system malfunction. Code P1222. Traction control output circuit malfunction. Code P1223. Pedal demand sensor B circuit high input. Code P1224. Throttle position sensor B out of self-test range. Code P1227. Wastegate failed closed over pressure. EGR valve. MAF sensor. SC wastegate actuator. SC. Code P1228. Wastegate failed open under pressure. EGR valve. MAF sensor. SC wastegate actuator. SC. Code P1229. Supercharger intercooler pump not operating condition. Wiring. SC intercooler pump. SC intercooler pump relay. ECM. Code P1230. Low-speed fuel pump fault condition. Code P1231. High-speed fuel pump relay activated. Code P1232. Low-speed fuel pump primary circuit failure. Wiring. Low-speed fuel pump relay. ECM. Code P1233. Fuel pump driver module disabled or offline. Wiring. If switch. Fuel pump control module. ECM. Code P1234. Fuel pump driver module disabled or offline. Wiring. If switch. Fuel pump control module. ECM. Code P1235. Fuel pump control out of range. Wiring. Fuel pump control module. ECM. Code P1236. Fuel pump control out of range. Wiring. Fuel pump control module. ECM. Code P1237. Fuel pump secondary circuit fault. Wiring. Fuel pump relay. Fuel pump control module.